Welcome, intrepid viewers. It's so good to have you back. Now I'm here tonight to report we've reached a milestone. Let me explain. Okay. So for those of us who've been watching this debacle unfold over the last 12 months, painfully, day by day, month by month, wishing Trump into oblivion, and I think I can speak for all of you also when I say we've also been wishing for that overprivileged, vapid little prick Jared Kushner to go down. Well, I believe today was a turning point in the Mueller investigation. So, hold on, I need a pillow. Okay, I'm getting a bit old to be doing this on the floor. Okay, so, bear with me. Today, when I hit the news, it was about Mueller investigating George Nader. And I thought, oh shit, who's George Nader? My brain can't cope anymore, it's going to explode. So, let me help you out here. Yes, I've done a diagram to help you follow this particular little series of events. George Nader. Okay, so George Nader, who is a liaison with the United Arab Emirates, code for crooked businessman doing big deals in the Middle East, right? So George Nader is good mates with Eric Prince. Eric Prince, you may know, is the brother of Betsy DeVos, the education minister. She was ahead of her time, Betsy. Remember, it was a year ago she was saying teachers should be armed in school in case of bears running into the classroom, you know. Now, Eric Prince started Blackwater, which was dirty ops in war zones, hired mercenaries, literally mercenaries, wants the CIA to bring back out-and-out assassinations. Seriously nasty guy. Okay. So we've got George Nader, we've got Eric Prince. We have the two Russians who are relevant to this story. One is the ambassador, Kislyak. I wasn't sure how to spell his name. You'll remember him. He was the one who was on television in the Oval Office with your glorious leader. And that was when Trump gave away the Israeli secrets, you know, on national television. You know, it was just amazing. He was the one who also reassured Trump, don't worry, Russia isn't doing anything. That man, Kislyak. The other is Dmitriev. Now, he's the head of some Russian independent development fund. Independent's always code for very bent and very crooked. Okay, so we have George Nader, we have Eric Prince, and Dmitriev, all of whom work around and for, in various capacities, Kushner. So Kushner organised a meeting between George Nader and some of the Russians and Eric Prince back in 2016. Then just before the inauguration, these three guys met in the Seychelles. Now, why is this important? Because they were discussing backchannels that Kushner wanted, right? He wanted backchannels to Russia. And backchannels to Russia by a team in transition with a foreign power is treason. So that makes it a little bit interesting. All right, so you don't have to remember their names just now. We're going to talk about Kushner. Okay, so this reading, and I thought worthy of the Toth deck, so we're using Toth for this. So, here we go. George Nader and Kushner. Eric Prince is so dirty. Oh my God, but we're not going there. There's no time to do a dedicated reading. This is just about George Nader's connection for Kushner to get back channels to Russia. He was in charge, Kushner was in charge of communications for the Trump campaign. And this was the back channel. And if you meet with foreign ministers and people, even though Obama was technically still president then, even more reason you're supposed to tell the FBI and the CIA, and you're supposed to fill out forms, although of course they never did. But it went on from there into 2017. So here we go. George Nader and Jared Kushner. George Nader, Jared Kushner. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo! Okay. The Eon. Okay, Major Arcana card. This is the very Egyptian card at the center of this reading. The all-powerful Pharaoh card here. High spirituality, high power. It's a card of pure power. Okay. Oh. Interesting. Here we go. We have the Emperor, Trumpy Poo. Okay, so there's Trump, represented by the Emperor. So that means this card is someone else. I would suggest, in the context of this reading, Putin. I think Putin is the puppet master of this arrangement. Next, across these cards, influencing these cards, the Queen of Cups, reversed. Aha. Now, that could be the very mysterious, remember Maria Butina? I'm sure she got the Queen of Cups in hers. Could be Maria Butina. Because what is becoming apparent is, I don't know if you can see these, what's becoming clear is Putin's in it for the long game. I think he hoped that he would have an affable sort of working relationship with Trump. He knows that hasn't happened. You'll remember the reading I did on their bromance. As men, they no longer like each other. So on that superficial level, what Putin thought would be really easy and straightforward has not proved so easy and straightforward. But this is not someone who stops because of an obstacle, like having a cretin in the White House in the form of Trump. So Putin's into the long game, including destabilising many parts of the world. So I must do a reading on Putin. Okay, and we have the Queen of Cups. For now, I'm saying Maria Butina, but it might change. All right. What's happening here? Okay, here, let me show you this, is the Ten of Cups. The Ten of Cups, in the top deck, is being satiated, being drenched. This is wealth beyond imagining, okay? So this is, how to describe this? This is the pure decadence card, if you like. This is decadence on a scale that we as normal folk don't ever get to experience in our lifetime. It's breathtakingly hedonistic, and given that we're talking about George Nader and Kushner, I think this is what was motivating Kushner. You see, you've got to remember Trump and Ivanka and Jared, they're really rich by American standards, but compared with the Middle East and compared with the oligarchs, they're basically on food stamps. The degree of wealth these other people have is truly mind-bending. So the root of it was excessive money, and this is a power card with Putin. So it's the root of all these manipulations, in other words, were driven by a desire for lavish wealth, but wealth in itself is meaningless unless you have power. The two go together. And if you asked Putin tomorrow, would he rather give away his money or his power, I think you'd find he'd say, here's all my money. Power is everything. Trump's attracted to power, but he's probably the opposite. If you said, I'll give you $10 and you can keep the presidency, he'd be out of there. Okay, so it's a different value system. And Kushner now is playing with the big boys in terms of these relationships. Okay, the 10 of Wands, oppression. Okay, this is in the immediate past. Oppression. Wands are a fire element. Each of the suits is represented by earth, wind, fire, or water. It's a fire element. And although I usually talk about the wands in terms of willpower, which is certainly what they represent, this card sort of takes the fire dimension further. These guys are prepared to burn down the house. They're prepared to destroy a country. These guys will stop at nothing. And George Nadir is one of them. Okay. They can run, but they can't hide. The Hermit card. So overreaching. Now, these guys, Blackwater, Eric Prince, George Nader, why don't we know the name George Nader? He's been hugely powerful and influential globally. We don't know because he's kept it underground. Right? Kushner flashes his wealth. Trump flashes his wealth. George Nader has kept his light under a bushel. He's a Machiavellian type schemer, but he's done it in an underground way. That's his specialty. You can't even call them backroom deals because they're so big. Backroom deals sort of implies a few guys in the pool room. It might imply a few mobsters saying, you take this district and I'll take this district, for waste management. No, this is another scale. These are global players, and George Nader is a global player. Coming up for them, the Two of Wands, dominion. You have oppression and dominion. So you oppress people and you have dominion over them. That's why I thought it was good to use the Thoth deck. It conveys a higher degree of whatever's represented in the cards. They're just more intense. And so just the phrases that go with them, or the terms that have been used to describe them, have much more flesh on the bones, right? So oppression and dominion. Now, Kushner and George Nader, their relationship represented by the Knight of Discs, the mercenary. I think that's perfectly self-evident. In it for the money, they like the argy-bargy, but at the end of the day, it's more Kushner than George Nader. He's the infant. Kushner is an infant. That's why it was revealed last week, I think it was the New York Times, that 4 countries were blatantly trying to play him because he was such a neophyte. He's such an innocent when he starts to play with these big boys. But they're both mercenaries, is the point. Now, influencing that dynamic of the huge power player and the new power player, you have the Princess of Wands. This could be Ivanka in this context, I'm wondering. It's female energy, This could be going back to Kushner'S eyebrows, or it could be Ivanka, not sure. But a fire princess has the tiger by the tail, it seems. When you first look at the card, it looks like she has the tiger by the tail. But in fact, the tiger has her by the throat. I'll just give you a moment to digest that imagery. Okay, so we have to assume, because Ivanka has her fingers in all the money pies, even if she wasn't aware of certain fine print things, she certainly would have known what Jared was setting out to do when he went to the Middle East, what he was setting out to do when he set these broad things in motion. They are a power couple in that sense, but as I said, they're totally babes in the wood. And now the tiger's coming around and strangling Ivanka. Now, atmosphere, the Seven of Wands. Willpower, but also fire. So in terms of this, putting on a brave face. I think George and Jared are both attempting to put on a brave face. Not only that, I think they need to draw on whatever courage they have left. And bear in mind, these are not courageous people. These are self-dealing wankers, right? They don't think about other people. They're under the blowtorch from Muller. They're going to have to draw on every ounce of their collective being not to just collapse to the floor in a gibbering heap. Right, so they're going to have to draw on some sort of valour to that. I don't know how well they'll go. They'll have some success, or this could in fact be Muller having some success in putting this case together. So you'd have to say, if George Nader is being investigated and Jared is being investigated, neither of them are going to come out and have normal lives again. They're not going to be the same on the other side of the Muller investigation. So I'm going to call it on this and say Muller has some success in this. It's a very radiant image in proving this. Another one. Another reverse card. It happens sometimes. I have to shuffle the bigger cards differently, so I get some reversals. The Ace of Cups, everything that's wonderful, joyous, and love and abundance and thing, upside down. In other words, the joy is falling out of the cup. The happiness is being drained from the world, their worlds. Right? They tried to pull the wool over the eyes of the entire American people and at times the world. And you know what? It hasn't worked. Okay, coming up here, this is the Eight of Wands. You know the ones in the regular deck that are those 8 wands that always represent something happening very fast? Being attacked, quickly throwing out spears and barbs, receiving spears and barbs, but it always represents something happening quickly. I think Muller is having success. I think he's drained the light from their world. I think until George Nader got called in, Kushner thought he could get away with a few things. Next out we have the Ace of Discs. Okay, so discs being pentacles, being coins. Aces are fundamental energy. So the root of this story, the bottomless desire, the hedonistic desire for power and money, right? is looming large over what's going to bring them undone. Oh, final outcome card would be the Five of Swords. Defeat. Defeat. Oh, now defeat in this case, as I said, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to get your hopes up, but defeat in this context is about very serious charges. I don't think at this stage of the investigation Muller's going to tinker around with money laundering charges for Jared and leave it there. I think there will be money laundering charges. There'll be lots of them. But it's not going to stop there. I'm going to stick my neck out here and say Jared Kushner is going to be done for treason, or an equivalent, a legal equivalent of treason, because he acted going behind the scenes in an official capacity in the campaign to the Russians, and the proof is now there. The email connections, the setting up of the meetings. Oh. So I hope that makes you as excited as it makes me. Right, thanks so much for your comments. Keep them coming. Oh, have to do Putin, have to do so many things. Bye now.